The truth about David Stern. When David Stern took over the reins of the NBA on February 1st, 1984, the league was in absolute shambles. It was still reeling from the shock of the 70s, regarded by many as the worst decade of NBA basketball, thanks to rampant drug use and diluted talent, among many other issues. Fast forward to the time he was retiring 30 years later on February 1st, 2014. The NBA had become a cultural and commercial behemoth, largely due to his capable and visionary leadership. But what about the controversies? Some of which were really spectacular during his tenure. In this video, we uncover the real truth about David Stern from the 2007 gambling scandal with key figure Tim Donaghy. Let's get started. David Stern's tenure at the helm of the NBA is synonymous with a lot of successes, and let me just take you through some of them. Curtailing drug abuse in the league. As I mentioned at the start of the video, Stern took over the NBA when things weren't that good. If anything, the league was in the early stages of transitioning from the catastrophe it was through the 1970s. Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, and other stars of the pre-Stern era had already left the league, and the new generation of GOATs, think Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Michael Jordan, were only getting started. Basketball, a game that had once taken the entire country by storm, was almost losing its charm, juice, and every other thing in between. And as a testament to this, only 23 teams participated in the NBA league, and most were grappling with dire financial issues. There weren't any stars in the NBA, and even if they were, the NBA was really inadequate at marketing them. Not to forget, rampant drug abuse wasn't helping the situation either. Back in the day, it was like, we got a bunch of young black guys making a good living and smoking pot. Former player and current analyst Charles Barkley said on NBA TV's Open Court. That was the NBA's image. That's a hard product to market. David would take over the NBA's reign fully aware of this, and to combat the problem, he implemented a drug testing program. This new way of life would lead to the banning of 8 players between 1986 and 1995, of course, due to substance abuse. Improve finances and revenue. After winning the battle against drug abuse within the league, David turned his attention to the chaotic NBA financial books. First, he decided to make the most of the talent within the NBA. In fact, this turned out to be an easy pursuit, as the incredible talent of players like Johnson, Jordan, and Bird would pretty much get the job done for him. In no time, the league's elites had caught everyone's attention, and while Stern was initially against the idea, he oversaw the league's players' journey to the Olympic stage. The culmination was the 1992 Dream Team, an incredible collection of talent that got a reception in Spain that would rival that of the Beatles' American debut. Now the world was aware, and Stern wanted more. With interest in his all-star skyrocketing, he looked to maximize their on-camera appeal. He implemented a few rule changes that limited what defensive players could do without committing a foul. And as offensive production increased, casual fans flocked to the sport by the millions. As more fans flocked to basketball, it was only a matter of time before financial success knocked on the door. In 1984, when he took over, the league's 23 teams were worth $400 million collectively. Now, the Chicago Bulls alone, purchased for a mere $16 million in 1985, are worth $4.1 billion, and the league's 30 teams are together worth more than $60 billion. Further, when Stern took over in 1984, CBS paid a mere $22 million yearly for NBA games. In contrast, in 2008, Stern negotiated an 8-year, $7.44 billion deal. Now, life is life, and Stern's time at the top of the NBA was also marred with its fair share of controversy. Here's the thing. From the time Stern took over the NBA, conspiracy theorists have been tracing his every move, accusing him of everything, from fixing draft lotteries to forcing Michael Jordan's first retirement. However, since those allegations always came from the outside world, a lot of weight was not placed on them. His darkest hour would come in 2007, when an NBA employee would provide perhaps the most damning accusation. Tim Donaghy, a 13-year veteran referee, would plead guilty to 2 felony conspiracy charges to engage in wire fraud and transmit betting information through interstate commerce. Yes, but that was only the beginning. His subsequent allegations shook the hoops world to its core. Donaghy alleged that the league office had directed officials to avoid calling technical fouls on star players, for fear of damaging ticket sales and television ratings. He also added that another referee influenced the outcome of a game in 2004 because of the official's relationship with the team's general manager. There's more. Donaghy would also go on to say that two officials fixed Game 6 of an undefined 2002 playoff series to extend it 7 games. Speaking of which, many sources have since identified the series in question as being the Los Angeles Lakers and Sacramento Kings meeting in the Western Conference Finals, the only series that went to 7 games that year. LA shot 15 more free throws than Sacramento in Game 6, 40-25, 27 of which came in the fourth quarter alone. David was adamant that nothing of the sort had happened, dismissing Donaghy's accusations. In fact, he went as far as to term him a rogue, isolated criminal, but it was too little, too late. By then, conspiracy theorists had their proof, or at least as much of it as they felt they needed. Now let's talk about Stern's issue with the public perception of players. Time is always moving forward. And so, over the years, Stern's creme de la creme players slowly retired. This ushered in a new crop of stars who were a lot different from their predecessors. You see, some of these talented stars were coming from some of the toughest neighborhoods in the nation, and so had a different kind of upbringing. Rather foreign and to some extent frightening to most of the game's season ticket holders. Press conferences after games quickly started to look like hip-hop music videos, with players rocking baggy t-shirts and jeans, with hats and lots of tattoos, and not forgetting a lot of heavy jewelry. This growing outlandish fashion and lifestyle created a disconnect between players and fans, and it was quickly approaching a boiling point. Unfortunately, fans of the sport didn't try to understand the background, and consequently, the style of these young players. Instead, they quickly labeled them criminals. In fact, this image extended to the media. For instance, Michael Kazanian of Forbes once wrote, "Many NBA players carry guns, and the league is full of thugs." While it's safe to say most of these claims were unfounded, some unfortunate events fueled the issue. The culmination of this was the November 19, 2004 game between the Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons, where an in-game scuffle between Ben Wallace and Ron Artest from opposing teams quickly spilled into the stands. Pistons fans and the Pacers players exchanged blows to the shock and horror of viewers countrywide. Larry Brown, a Hall of Fame coach and the then Pistons coach, later commented, "It was the ugliest thing I've ever been involved with." Stern felt he had to do something to repair player perception. So on October 17, 2005, he implemented a new dress code for all NBA players that we now see today. Much to the outrage of players. Now they were required to dress in business or conservative attire when coming to and leaving a game, whether playing or not, as well as when doing official NBA business. So that includes charity events and interviews. On top of this, Stern also banned hats, do-rags, t-shirts, jeans, jerseys, sneakers, extravagant jewelry, headphones, Timberland-style boots, and sunglasses. The new dress code was so serious that violations were punishable by fines and suspensions. Now, like him or not, Stern oversaw NBA's magnificent propulsion from the shadows to one of the most popular sports in the world throughout the 90s and 2000s. But he did have some moments he'd rather we all didn't know. So what are your thoughts about Stern's 3-decade career at the NBA? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed watching, smash thumbs up and share the video widely. For more great videos in sports and business, hit subscribe and turn on your notifications. With that, we wind up today's video. Thanks for watching.